Hello, everybody. I hope you're well and welcome back to Voicenotes with Jordan Theresa. How is everybody doing today? It's fascinating how this podcast is so, I don't think cyclical is the right answer, but I feel like there's a flow to the episodes because I am hungover today. So in my last episode of Voicenotes was the pre-drinks episode. And I would like to just say, thank you I mean, you guys are always amazing anyway, but honestly, thank you so much for how lovely you all were about that episode, because I will say it was chaotic. It was a lot, but I had such a blast recording it and I could tell that you guys really enjoyed it. So pre-drinks episodes will be coming. There will be more pre-drinks episodes, don't worry. But I'm not recording this episode the day after the night out. I'm recording this a week later, but I am hungover. So this is completely unintentional as well. I did not think I was going to be this hungover. But today is Jack's birthday, my housemate. And yesterday we went out for dinner and I had gin. And if you listen to our last episode, you know my rocky relationship with gin. I only had one, but I truly think that was the beginning of the end. I had gin, we had wine, vodka lemonades. There was a lot going on and we had so much fun. It was lovely. I had a great time, but I'm like feeling it today. But you know what, guys? So I'm someone who I'm really curious to know. First of all, I'd like to say, being this is the hungover episode, feel free if you want to stick a pin in this and watch it when you're hungover, so you feel a bit less alone. I remember one of the hardest things when I lived alone was, or like when Jack's away, is spending hangovers by myself. I feel like that is so difficult. There's actually no. You know what? There are pros and cons. Because the cons of spending a hangover by yourself is you are by yourself, and all you can think about is all of the embarrassing things that you did the night before, and you're like trying so hard to not text people to be like, was I being weird last night? But I don't know whether that's just like an OCD thing with me. But also all you do is just sit on your phone and like, I very rarely use the word doom scroll, I feel, but I like get into my doom scrolling bag whenever I'm hungover. Like I literally can't help myself. And I just feel like I'm in like a daze and I'm by myself. But the pros of spending a hangover by yourself is you just get so much space, freedom. You can put on whatever show you want and you don't have to bicker about it. And that's quite a good thing. But I still think that hangovers by yourself can be a rough ride. So feel free to stick a pin in this. But being as we're a bit hungover today, I'm interested to know if anyone else is like this, but I'm someone who I can't really sleep when I drink. As in, I'll get in and I will knock out cold for like maybe 4 hours, and then I will wake up and I cannot get back to sleep. But it's like I wake up and it is like, you know, the hangovers where you start hearing like that high-pitched buzz, like dee in your head, and you're like, what's going on? Like you have to like go through all of the trenches of the hangover without being able to sleep through it. I've always been jealous of people that can sleep through hangovers. Like I wish that could be me. But yesterday, guys, last night, I think I might have cracked the code. So I like had maybe one of the best sleeps of my life last night. I am still tired, I will say, but I think that is the hangover. But I had one of the best sleeps of my life. I was tucked up in bed, and what I do is first of all, I put my electric blanket on and I switched it on before I got into bed. I preheated the bed, took my makeup off. Yes, I always sleep in my makeup when I'm drunk, so I'm so proud of myself that I took it off. I'm changing, I'm growing. And then I was like in bed and it was so warm. I was like, oh, this is perfect. And then I thought, oh, I should put my eye mask on, because I sleep with the blinds open. Random, I feel like there's another like disturbing law drop about me. I sleep with the blinds open because I'm a real morning person. I like waking up really early, and also when the clocks go back and everything, like it doesn't get light till about 8 a.m, so like I don't really need to close my curtains. But I was like, you know what, I want to have a line. Let me put my eye mask on. And I put the eye mask on for like, it was the initial intention, the initial purpose was so the light didn't wake me up. but it was like this weighted feeling on my face. Like, you guys know what an eye mask feels like. I don't need to explain it. But what I think I really liked about it is I felt like the electric blanket added a weight on top of my body. And then I had like this weight on my face. And I have never particularly been drawn to like weighted blankets or like experiences where you have weighted things on you. I watched this TikToker. He's called he does sensory haircuts, the weighted cape. He's amazing on TikTok, by the way. He's so amazing. He does sensory haircuts for not even just children, but for anyone who has like sensory difficulties. So, you know, autism, ADHD, neurodivergency, but also like you don't have to be neurodivergent to have sensory issues. So maybe this like whole sensory thing is related to my ADHD, but I felt like I was in a cocoon of pleasure. And like now I'm like thinking I really want to get a weighted blanket. Like I think I would benefit highly from a weighted blanket. So I had such a good sleep last night, but I'm still feeling like the effects of the hangover. What did I eat today? I will say I didn't have like typical hangover meal, because this isn't a super, super bad hangover, I will say. And because it's Jack's birthday, we got like pastries. I just had a massive bowl of that like rava ravioli with the tomato and the basil with like loads of like olive oil and parmesan on the top. Like I wanted a beige meal. I wanted pure beige today. And then the go-to hangover drink, usually I feel like I have a medley of drinks when I'm hungover. This hangover really isn't that bad. I'm just quite tired. Guys, if you're not watching this, I am holding maybe the most crisp glass of squash that you've ever seen. If you are not, I don't know whether squash is like a UK thing or whether it's a European thing, but if you don't know what squash is, it's basically like dilute. A lot of other countries call it like dilute juice and stuff. So you basically add like a very concentrated liquid at the bottom and top it up with water. And it is just, one second, it's just incredible. It's amazing. And I've spoken about my friend Herbie's quiz before, but my friend Herbie, he holds an annual quiz, and it is of completely random, not general knowledge at all. And he does, one of his most famous rounds is the squash round, where he puts squash into a cup and everyone has to try it, and you have to guess whether it's single, double, or quadruple concentrate, because I don't actually know when these different ranges of squash came out, because back in my day, back when I was younger, there was only single concentrate squash, but now there's double concentrate and there's quadruple concentrate. I accidentally picked up a bottle of quadruple concentrate squash, and let me tell you, I felt like I was carrying an atomic bomb in my bag. I was like, I cannot believe that this is quadruple strength. Where do we draw the line? And this is the thing. Whenever I can't quite master, look, I can master a double concentrate. Quadruple concentrate, I just can't master it. That's a bit too sweet. And then when I try to add less, it's not sweet enough. But yeah, that's my little go-to. Sorry. That's my little go-to. Let's have a little hungover vibe today. So very, very nice, very cozy. And last weekend, I had a good night out. It was fun. I will say, I got too fucked. I hate when that happens. I spoke about it before when I went to Gala, where I got too fucked and like I sort of like was living in like anxiety and regret for like the week after. I had anxiety the day after. I didn't necessarily like have any regret or anything, but it's one of those ones where when your memory, I wonder if anyone else feels like this, but when your memory of a night, because I was talking to someone about this the other day, when your memory of a night is very faded and like you like there's certain parts of the night that you can't really remember, you almost feel like you've had the night robbed off you a little bit, especially when like you're going, this is going to sound so pretentious, but there's no such thing as being pretentious, but like, especially when you're going for the music and then like you don't remember that much of it, you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, like fuck's sake. You know how I knew that I got too fucked? I found a video on my phone of me filming the set, but it was all in cinematic mode, so you just couldn't see a fucking thing. It was like 40 seconds long as well. But yeah, you live, you learn, and this is the thing. I'm actually going clubbing a lot more recently, it feels like, that I have time to redeem myself because I'm going to Fold on Halloween, as I've mentioned. I'm going to Fold on Halloween because I just realised this is going to be... Is this technically my birthday episode? No, I'm going to say next episode is my birthday episode because this is going to be I'm uploading this episode on Monday. The following Saturday is my birthday. My birthday's on the 25th of October. And wait, what was I saying? Sorry? I can't remember how I got onto this topic. How did I get onto this topic? I can't lie. I have lost my train of thought a little bit, but I'm going clubbing a lot. I'm going to Fold on Halloween. But the weekend before Halloween, before we get too ahead of ourselves, it's my birthday. And how do I feel about my birthday? We're having a low-key birthday this year. Usually I'm like very big on my birthday celebrations. And guys, I was going to have big birthday celebrations, and then there's kind of been like a bit of drama in my life. So like I like have sort of like, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to do something a bit low-key. I'm just going to do something a bit low-key this year. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm someone that I'm not, at the moment, I don't really feel that scared of like aging. Like, it's interesting because Jack is very like, oh my God, I've turned 27 and I like feel sick. And I'm just not like that at all. Like, I honestly think that like our perception of age has changed so much just in the last 10 years that like I've seen this like really common sentiment where like the age of 25 to 35 is like the new 20s, which is so true. So like, I don't feel particularly like stressed out about getting older or anything. And I also think that like I am like happy in my life, and like I'm really happy with like how things are going, how my career's going, and I feel like I have like a lot of clarity. I feel like I'm like have a lot of clarity in my life right now and where it's going. Like, you know, I obviously you never know like 100%, but the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't really think that I want kids and like stuff like that. And like, I think when you sort of perhaps maybe come to a conclusion that you don't want children, it's really interesting how it like changes the way that you view aging, because like I'm sure that a lot of people who like desire a family, desire children, they maybe see aging as a bit of a stressor because they're like, oh, I want to have this amount of children by this age, and it almost feels like a bit like a ticking clock. Meanwhile, I don't think that I want kids, so like I don't really like view it in that way. So I think I'm like pretty relaxed around birthdays. So yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm excited. I've got a really full-on week with work, I can't lie. Not complaining or anything, so glad that I'm busy. But yeah, no, I've just got like so much going on that like, honestly, it just doesn't feel like my birthday at all. But I mean, should I tell you guys about what I'm up to, or should I leave that until next episode, like what I'm doing for my birthday? I think, you know what, I think I am gonna leave it for the next episode. But yeah, last week when I went to Village Underground to see Simone, it was really fun. We missed Juicy Romance, but it's okay. I will see Juicy Romance another time. Juicy Romance is really, really fun. But if you are hungover, where did you go last night? And what is your go-to hungover drink? And is it a medley? You know what's really interesting about like hangover drinks and hangover snacks? Sometimes what you want is not best for you. And it's one of those where if I'm planning on having a day of like just being indoors, hungover, like all day, which actually isn't that often, like I do like to try and go out and do something. Oh bitch, I'm ordering that Greg's. I'm ordering that carby, starchy, that pure starchy Greg's. And then I'm just like crashing out. Because this thing, you eat the 2 sausage rolls, the sweet treat, you have half the Ribena, and then you put the Ribena back in the fridge so it's nice and crisp. And then you stick the Lecky Blank on, you put the electric blanket on, the Lecky Blank, and then you put your eye mask on and you just sleep. And then you wake up, like after my night out, I fell asleep because I like didn't sleep that much. I got in at about 7 and I fell asleep and then I woke up at like 10 and then I ended up going back home for like about 1, 2, and then I fell asleep again and woke up at 7 and it was like dark outside and I was so confused. Like, you know, it's one of those ones where you wake up and it's like, I am so confused right now. Like, what the fuck happened? And I was like, I'm pretty sure I was like still in my clothes and stuff. And then I remember I was like, this panic set in, girls. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get back to sleep? This is such a nightmare. Like, I've literally slept like 2 till 7. I've literally slept like 5 hours. Like, this is going to fuck me. And then I was like, wait a damn minute. So there is this mac and cheese from M&S that is so good. It's called the best ever mac and cheese. And sometimes you read things, you go, yeah, They did not lie. They did not lie. They did not lie. It is the best mac and cheese ever. And I let myself have it like once a week. And it's so good. And it's so expensive for a ready meal. It's £6.25, but it's so much more than a ready meal, guys, because like the top goes crispy. It's garlicky. It's creamy. It's crunchy. It's got like so many components. And above everything, the most important thing, it's carby. So I like carb. Oh my God, what do runners do when they like carb load? I'm carb loading for my nap. Like that's you're carb loading for your run. I'm carb loading for my nap. Someone stick that on a wooden sign. A mum living in like Milton Keynes would love that. That is like a mum living in St Albans would fucking love that. And I carb loaded, electric blanket on, and then I crashed out again, and it was perfect. And then the next day I felt absolutely fine. That was like I don't usually get that hungover. I was really hungover that day, but I don't know if it was because I did get a bit too fucked, or like I don't know whether it's because hangovers are a little more difficult to manage in the winter. Or I don't know if it's a thing where like hangovers from festivals are just fine because you get in at like 2 a.m. and it's fine. But anyways, feel very grateful to live in a city that has such amazing nightlife, and I just feel very, very lucky. Like I fucking love going out, guys. I'm turning 27 and I still love going out. Will I ever stop love going out? Like, guys, how the word feels when you have a good night out. The trees are greener, the flowers smell sweeter when you have a good night out. You're like life is worth living again. Life is worth living, guys. Shall we do some thoughts of the week? It's been a while since I've done some thoughts of the week. I've had many thoughts this week. I've had 3. Like usually, sorry, that was so stupid. Okay, the jokes write themselves. But yes, I had 3 entire thoughts. No, if you don't listen to the pod, you don't know. Thoughts of the week is a segment that I try to do every week. But one thing about me is I will never ever force thoughts of the week. If I haven't had a thought come to me for me to write down in my phone, I just won't do a thoughts of the week segment. I'll just say there wasn't any. But I had 3 that I wrote down. Number 1 is my dream is to hard launch my man on our wedding day. I think hard launching your relationship on your wedding day or like on your engagement photos is so chic. It is so chic. I don't know why. I guess it's almost like a bit of a flex to be private, because obviously social media has made everything so public that like having an element of privacy or keeping an element of your life off of social media is probably seen as like a bit of a status symbol. So maybe it's like that sort of, anti-social media sort of sentiment at play in my head. But I just think waiting to hard launch your relationship via your wedding pictures, that is like my dream. Like that is genuinely my dream. The reason why that dream will probably never be a reality is because I cannot keep a secret. I have no impulse control. I don't think it's surprising that I'm a terrible secret keeper. Like even when I have something good, like as in like I have a surprise for someone or I've bought someone a gift, I am so bad at keeping a secret. Like I cannot surprise people because I'm so bad at keeping a secret. I just get so excited. Like I love giving presents so much, but I am so bad at keeping a secret that I will just tell people what I got them. So like I have to really to keep a secret. And I think that like I would struggle because let's say I get married in 5 years. Having to not post someone for 5 years is insanity. Like I could just not do that. I'm such a bad secret keeper. I understand people keeping things under wraps, a secret for a year, 2 years. I totally get it, especially in my line of work, where everything is very public. Oh, such an insufferable sentence, I know, but everything can be quite public. But I understand that, but trying to keep a secret for years. Oh, I wish it would be my dream, but I doubt that dream will ever become a reality. But that's my first thought of the week. My second thought of the week is my late 20s swag has kicked in. I saw this TikTok, and you know what? This could actually relate to my birthday, to be fair. Which, by the way, it is Jack's birthday today, and it's my birthday next Saturday. Me and Jack were born 7 days apart. We were born exactly a week apart. And it's actually really funny because I remember Jack said to me once, he was like, do you reckon our mums, because we were born not that far away from each other either. Like, so like I remember Jack saying, do you reckon our mums ever walked past each other and just thought like, oh, look, another pregnant lady? Because they were literally like pregnant at like the exact same time. We were just born like a week apart. And then I was talking about it with my mum, and my mum's dad, so my granddad, lived in the same area that Jack's parents lived in. So it is like they probably did walk past each other and they both thought, oh, look, another pregnant lady. And it's just so like, I just feel so connected to him in that way. Like the fact that me and him share a birthday week, it just feels so special. I saw this TikTok from Sam Wise LDN, and it says, when that hashtag late 20s swag kicks in. My late 20s swag has kicked in. And I'm not just saying that because I'm turning 27 next week. I'm saying that because I don't know, maybe it is a thing that comes with age, but like I just feel so like comfortable within like myself and like the way that I like look, and not even necessarily like a, you know, I'm like so confident, blah, 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 blah. It's more like I just like I feel like when I was really young, like when I was in my early 20s, like late teens, I feel like the way that I looked, and even into my mid 20s, the way that I looked and the way I presented myself was like almost a bit of a like stressor in my life. It was like so distressing, like getting ready in the morning, choosing an outfit, like styling my hair, all of this. Like it was all, I remember it being so stressful because I wanted to look good at the end of it. And if I didn't look good, I would like cry because I was just so insecure. And now that I no longer feel like that, I feel like everything that I do when it comes to like presenting myself, like, you know, doing my hair, doing my makeup, getting like, you know, obviously you guys know I'm really into clothes and stuff, like, you know, getting into my clothes, getting dressed, it all just feels like it's for fun. Like it feels like I'm like having fun in like dressing and presenting myself, and like I think in turn it shows because guys, that late 20s swag has kicked in. And the last thought of the week is, you can tell a lot by a person by what their pencil case style was in school. I would love to know what you guys' pencil case style was in school. And what I mean by that is, were you someone who you had a pristine pencil case, you had everything in there, ruler, pens, pencils, multiple pens, those Statler fine liner pens, and you used to do all of your revision notes in different colors and your revision notes looked perfect? Was your, you know, pencil case like stuffed, full of stuff and a bit messy, but like everything was like useful? Did you have your maths set? You know, were you prepared? Did you have your scientific calculator? Or were you someone like me who I was a pen in the blazer girl? I used to go to school with one pen in my blazer, and the only time that I had a pencil case, it was a math set that I'd taken all of the math set stuff out of to put my two pens in. And like I'd be in maths and I'd be like, oh, can I have a protractor? Can I have this? And my teacher would be like, your math set's right in front of you. And I'm like, babe, you know there's nothing in here. And I was just such a I mean, I'm still like chaotic and a bit scruffy, but like I was particularly scruffy and disorganized in school. Again, crazy that not a single teacher around me like even considered the thought that I had ADHD, but like here we go. But like even I took it upon myself to turn my math set into a bit of an art project where like I covered it all in Tipp-Ex, like the entire thing, and then I like drew on it and it looked rancid. Like I remember it looked so bad. So then I took it upon myself. I almost used it as a bit of a fidget, like in class, where I would then use a pen to individually scrape the Tipp-Ex off. And that was the kind of person that I was in school. But I'd love to know what you guys' pencil case style was. But shall we do a little outfit of the day, our little hungover outfit of the day? I will say I don't necessarily love this outfit, I just love this jacket. This jacket is very important to me. So I've got let me show you the bottoms first. I've got my suit trousers that I got from Next that have like the really low crotch because they're really big, but I got them tailored and now I love them and they're so comfortable. They're generally like the most comfortable pair of trousers I own. If you're looking for like good suit trousers that aren't too expensive, highly recommend searching Next on Depop and Vinted. But anyways, I've got like one of those like little fruity booty 3/4 length tops on underneath, but the star of the show is this beautiful jacket. I've had this for like over a year. I absolutely love this. And you know what? Let me put the hood up so I can show you guys. I feel like I look a little crazy with the hood up, but This is an amazing, like big, thick hoodie, like zip up hoodie. It's Adidas. It is vintage from Vivien's Vintage. She has incredible stock, and I'm just so happy that I bought this. It is like one of my favorite things in the world, and it's such a crowd pleaser. Like, I remember I dated this guy, and then we stopped dating, and then we started dating again. And then I remember when we started dating again, he was like, oh, I remember when we stopped dating, like, I really wanted to ask you where you got that Adidas jacket from. And he was like, I was like looking for the same Adidas jacket, like, because he loved it so much, but he didn't want to like message me because like we weren't on good terms at that time. And we aren't on good terms again. You lose them how you get them, girls. So I just love this jacket so much. It's very, very special to me. And just before we get into today's episode, if you are looking for some bonus voice notes content, make sure you subscribe to the Voicenotes Substack. We have content on there for both, paid subscribers and non-paid subscribers. Non-paid subscribers, I'm active on notes on there. There's little written articles to go alongside, but also there is a lot of bonus content if you want to become a paid subscriber. As you guys know, it's absolutely no pressure. It's no skin off my back, girls. It's honestly completely up to you. I have a lot of fun on there. We have 2 bonus episodes up at the moment. One about Sydney Sweeney and contemporary sex work. The other one about Bonnie Blue. And the next episode, which is going to be up this Wednesday, is going to be about J.K. Rowling and separating the art from the artist, Harry Potter adults, Emma Watson. Keira Knightley's shoved herself into the mix too. So it's really, I really like being on over there and making this bonus content for you guys, because it means I get to do more yapping on the pod and you guys get some bonus content, and I feel like a bit more free to talk about some more controversial things that would usually get flagged on this website, even though I do love you so much, YouTube. But yeah, no, if you want bonus content, subscribe to the Substack. Again, absolutely no pressure. Just wanted to let you guys know because I know that you guys like the bonus content. So, in today's episode of Voice Notes with Jordan Theresa, we're doing something a little different again. You guys' response to my things that I think a chic video was, as in podcast episode, was so lovely. I was like honestly, I was a little bit anxious about uploading an episode that wasn't like super like research centered, that was like just a bit of fun. But you guys really enjoyed it. I loved recording it, and it's really quite helpful for me actually from a working perspective. I know it sounds a bit insufferable, but it is very helpful for me from a working perspective, knowing that, once a month I can do those more like off the cuff, random, was that cringe? No, guys, you know what, for my recent affirmation that I'm trying to pass along to everyone, there is no such thing as cringe. There's no such thing as cringe. I feel like the more I've done this podcast, the more like off the handle I'm going. I feel like I'm not like this in person. Like, I feel like I'm a lot more like, on the podcast. So sorry if I'm like being a bit chaotic. I feel like I'm very chaotic on this podcast. Sorry. Doing like these sort of more like random off the cuff episodes is really, really helpful for like my sort of working flow, knowing that like, once a month I don't have to like they're not even that heavily researched. I do like a day of like light research. It's mostly opinion pieces over here. It's very casual commentary. You all know this. But it's like good to know that I can like just do an off the cuff episode and you guys will like it. And I'm so excited for today's episode because today we are doing an agony aunt episode. Auntie Jordan is ready to answer your woes. I'm actually surprised. I posted on my Instagram story that I was making an agony aunt episode and to send me your woes. And I was actually surprised about the amount of people that messaged me and said that they didn't know what an agony aunt was, because I'm assuming agony aunt is maybe a British thing, and I did not know that. I thought agony aunt was universal, but basically an agony aunt is like it was probably like, I'd imagine like a newspaper or magazine segment of like what they were called an agony aunt, where people write them questions. And I have done an agony aunt episode? I think I have. I used to have like a whole agony aunt segment email that people used to send their problems in, and I used to do like one submission an episode, but it made the episodes really, really long, number one. And number two, someone bloody signed the email up to a bunch of like pro-Israel mailing lists, and like it's ruined the email. So like someone has to ruin the fun for everyone, don't they? Submission number one. Some vaginismus tips, babe. #struggling. I am really, really glad that someone answered this question because if you do not know here, I've been very open with the fact that I'm a vaginismus babe. It's come honestly leaps and bounds. I have made an entire episode about it. It was quite a while ago actually, so I have probably come even further since that point. But basically, to do a little Spark Notes TLDR, when I was around 20, I started experiencing quite bad pain during sex, and then it got to the point where I, couldn't have sex at all. I could not put a tampon in. I was in a relationship as well, so it put a lot of strain on our relationship because I couldn't have sex. And then it's still, it doesn't affect me all that much anymore. I'm very lucky, but it affected me for many, many years after. It affected me in my other relationships. It affected me. It's hard because the vaginismus was sort of in its, it was mental, and a lot of the time vaginismus is linked to your mental health and how you feel mentally and your mental health towards sex, if that makes sense. And my vaginismus was because of very negative experiences down that in the field theme. Sorry, I'm not making any sense. As you can tell, it's a little bit difficult for me to speak about sometimes. And I think something that I really struggled with my vaginismus was the anger I felt around having vaginismus, because your mind can move on from a horrible thing that happened to you and a sort of horrible experience, but your body doesn't sometimes. Your body stays there because your body's just trying to protect itself. And I think that's what can be really frustrating is, your body, when you have vaginismus, is doing the right thing. It's protecting you, but also it's not the right thing if you want to have sex, and it can be very, very difficult. So I have, I now am at a point now where I can have sex, and, I will always think of myself as someone who has vaginismus because it can flare up. But I've come leaps and bounds from when I was 20, crying, trying to put tampon in. So I think it's difficult when you're in a relationship. I think when I was in a relationship, I made the most progress in my vaginismus when I wasn't in a relationship. And I guess the answer can't be to break up with your partner. But what the answer is to make sure that you have very open communication with your partner about your vaginismus. And essentially, if your partner is not being the most understanding that they can be, I understand that people are clumsy with their words, but if your partner is being insensitive and is not handling it with the utmost sensitivity and importance and care, then I would very much consider whether that's someone that you want in your life, because that's going to make your journey with vaginismus so much more difficult if you feel like you're under an element of pressure from your partner. I remember I had someone offer to pay for therapy for me to talk about my vaginismus and sort of get over that mental block, but already I thought it set a weird precedent, a pressuring precedent, where almost he was paying for the therapy, therefore he's expecting me to have sex with him at the end of it, and that just doesn't work. So that is my big thing, is that if you're in a relationship, to open up communication about it, and if they aren't handling it in the correct way, then really consider if this is someone that you should be with, which I know is a horrible question to think about. But if you are single, to be fair, even if you're in a relationship, I think just putting sex totally off the table, not feeling any pressure to have sex with your partner is incredibly important. Taking that pressurizing aspect from sex completely away, whether that is going celibate, whether that is saying to your partner, I don't want to have sex at the moment, anything like that is the most important thing for me, was to take that pressure away. So one of those things was I went celibate. I've been celibate a couple of times, but I was my longest stint of celibacy was 6 months, about 4 years ago, and it was honestly the best thing that I ever did. The second thing is, if you can, go and speak to a therapist, even if you speak to friends about it, but I would especially recommend speaking to a therapist. There are therapists that specialize in sexual trauma, in just difficult, vaginismus isn't always related to sexual trauma, and I think that's quite important to know. There are therapists that specialize in sex, basically, and people's attitudes towards sex and people's anxieties and fears around sex. So that's something that's really important, is to talk to someone and go to therapy. That was something that really helped me, but I will say it's not something that necessarily helped me the most. There are like physical things that you can do. So for example, there are dilators. I use dilators a lot. Using lube is another thing that helps. But I would actually say the biggest thing for me that really helped with my vaginismus, because I think the biggest thing around my vaginismus that I really struggled with was the shame. Like, I felt so ashamed that I couldn't do this thing that I felt like I was supposed to do, and I couldn't do this thing to, you know, please my partner and stuff like that, even though, you know, sex doesn't just exist to please your partner, it exists to please yourself. But a big thing for me was reframing what I saw sex as, because, you know, we've been socialized in, you know, very heteronormative, patriarchal world where sex is seen as like penetration. It's seen as like P in V, like that is sex. But if you actually reframe what you view as sex, you know, things like, it sounds so like silly to say this, but like hand and mouth stuff, you know, second base, third base, that's still sex. Like, you know, if your clothes are off and you're trying to make each other orgasm, then in my eyes you're shagging. Do you know what I mean? So it's like really important to like view other things as having sex and don't view foreplay as just the build-up. Foreplay can be the main event. And, you know, there was a long time where I was only doing hand and mouth stuff. Like, I wasn't doing any penetration. And you know, when I reframed it in my mind that was nothing to be ashamed of, it really, really helped me improve my relationship with sex, where I didn't view foreplay as like a build-up to sex. Therefore, I would be, you know, doing like foreplay stuff. I'd be doing hand and mouth stuff. And because that pressure element was taken away of me viewing it as something that was building up to having sex, I then, in the moment, would feel like, you know, doing like penetrative sex. Sorry, I feel like I'm saying that a lot, and like YouTube is not going to like that. Because I reframed it, it really helped me. And then like in turn, I felt a lot more in control. I felt a lot more what I was doing, what I desired. And I think everyone should do this regardless of if you have vaginismus or not. But yeah, I feel like I am missing something, but those are my personal biggest tips. And I hope it helps. And honestly, if anybody has any other tips, please leave them in the comments. I worry that I don't care enough about relationships. My friends all want me to download Hinge, but that's scary. I'm just scared that I won't find someone. This is interesting because I think the friends pressuring you to download Hinge is such an interesting thing. Because, sorry, let me get comfortable for this. Because I think that a lot of the time your friends that pressure you to download dating apps are ones that are in relationships themselves. And I think a part of that is chalked up to a little bit of vicariously living through, a little bit of, God, I haven't used a dating app in a while. I want to get a thrill out of this. I want to see what it's about. A little bit of vicarious, you know, living through you. But also, I think a lot of these friends that pressure you to download dating apps and start dating, first of all, wish that they could date themselves who are in a relationship, but also because they're in a relationship, they see someone that's single and they see it as something that needs to be fixed. And I don't, as you guys know, I don't agree with that notion at all. I think that you know, it's a fine line to walk, because I think that your friends can want you to find someone and want you to be with someone because they think that it will make you really happy and they just want you to find your person. I think that's like a very natural, normal desire to have for the people that you love. But, you know, I think that there's pressure for people in relationships place on their single friends to date is like kind of odd. It's interesting because I'm trying to sort of like decipher this question where it's like, you know, you feel like you don't care enough about relationships. Your friends want you to download Hinge, but you're scared that you won't find someone. So it's interesting where it's like, are you not interested in relationships, or are you avoiding dating because you're worried that you're not going to like anyone? I think if you're someone who you don't care, you don't want to date, then don't do it, honestly. Like, I think dating is one of those things, especially dating through dating apps, because like, I've been there, girls. I've been there. I had a huge dating phase like last year. Oh no, the beginning of this year. It's one of those things where you've got to be in it to like enjoy it, if that makes sense. Like, you have to be really, really in it. But it's interesting that you should try and know, do you not want to date because you don't care, or do you not want to date because you're worried that you won't like anyone? Like, I think that's something that's worth answering, because I think that it's one of those things, it doesn't have to be serious, babe. Like, some of the most fun actually, some of the most fun that I had when I dated was when I was honestly just dating for fun, and when I was dating multiple people at the same time. Don't be scared that you won't find someone, because just because when you meet someone, you know that they're not the one, doesn't mean that you can't have fun with them. You know, I had a lot of fun dating when I was just dating short term, when I was dating people where I knew there was no future, because it totally took the pressure off. If you're someone who you want to date, but you're worried because you won't meet anyone that you like, then you can date for fun. There are other options, but don't let your friends who are in relationships pressure you to download Hinge just because they want to live vicariously through you. My boyfriend of 4 years won't do anything for himself, and I'm losing attraction over it. Oh, this is such a difficult one. And I feel like a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but I don't think that I'm necessarily being that controversial. I think if you're already thinking these things, if you're not only just thinking these things, because there's a difference between thinking it and vocalizing it. You know, by messaging, even just like submitting an anonymous agony aunt, you're vocalizing this sort of lack of attraction you have for your partner. If you're not only thinking it, but you're vocalizing it, this is the beginning of the end. I'm so sorry. And I feel awful delivering this information. It's one of those things where you could say to your partner, you don't want to do anything, you know, it makes me less attracted to you, makes me not happy in this relationship. And then he starts doing things, but he's still not doing those things for himself. He's doing those things for you. And that is also not going to fix the problem. It's not, trust me. A man's personhood should not be reliant on the woman that he's dating. So many women are in relationships with men where their entire personhood is reliant on them, and they mother them. And this is the thing, you know, we've all been there. I've been there. Like, we've all been there. And I think that a part of the reason why women fall into these patterns is because of the way that we've been socialized. We've been socialized to be carers. We've been socialized specifically to be carers for men. That, you know, it makes sense that we slip into those old patterns because, you know, it makes us feel good. Like, it's a nice feeling looking after someone in a way. But I cannot tell you, like, how much better off you'll be not mothering someone who you're supposed to be in a relationship with. Like, the pressure that puts on a relationship to mother someone. And this is the thing, if you're already questioning your attraction to them, that attraction probably won't come back. You should end it sooner rather than later, in my opinion. But I know there's quite harsh advice, so I know that people are probably going to disagree with me, and I'd be really interested to know if you guys disagree with me. Trying to meet people IRL versus Hinge. How? I find this entire topic super, super interesting because I've spoken a lot about dating apps, and my attitude towards dating apps, although, like, I've been very critical of them in, like, the effect that they've had on young people, on the dating sphere, on young men specifically. I also think that they're not a blanket bad. If they were a blanket bad, I wouldn't have used them. You know, I used Hinge for like nearly a year. And you know, I had some good times, I had some bad times. Like, that's the thing with dating, is that the highs are really high, but the lows are so low. I see the good and I see the bad with dating apps. But I think it's really interesting that, like, this recent fatigue that people are experiencing with dating apps, this recent, very understandable fatigue, because dating apps are just inherently a bit unsexy. Do you know what I mean? It's a lot of admin. I think in turn has glamorized this idea of meeting people in person. It's like really interesting. I think that, like, the sort of this fantasy of meeting someone in person has, like, reached this new height where people go, ooh, like, I actually remember when I went on a date with a guy that I met at a friend's party, and I said to my therapist, I went, you're gonna love this. We met IRL. Like, you know, it's this, like, because it's quite rare to happen now. Like, it's a lot more common for people to meet on dating apps. I think in turn it can be romanticized, and I actually think that we need to romanticize meeting people in real life a bit less. And the only reason I say that is because I think that it can put people up on pedestals who haven't necessarily worked to be put on that pedestal, if that makes sense. You end up putting this person on a pedestal because you met in real life, when really I don't think anybody should be put on a pedestal unless they've almost like shown their behavior as pedestal worthy. Sorry, I feel like I'm getting there. I'm getting there eventually, bear with me. That's the only thing that I know from like meeting people in real life versus Hinge, is that just be careful not to romanticize them or put them on a pedestal just because you met in person. Not being funny, if you met a guy in a bar, if you met a guy at a friend's birthday party, most likely he's still using dating apps too. So it's not necessarily like he's going to be super different or like that situation is going to be different. But when it comes to actual tips of how to meet people in real life, I guess it's one of those things where you've just got to say yes and go to everything. But I think, again, another issue that can come with wanting to meet people, placing a sort of emphasis on wanting to meet people in real life versus on dating apps, which, by the way, I am not pressuring anyone to use dating apps. I want to make that super, super clear. If you do not want to use dating apps because you just don't want to do it, that is absolutely fine. I'm not going to sit here and say that you have to or that you should. Only do what makes you feel comfortable and what you actually want to do. But I think it's just worth entering these situations and thinking about these things with a little bit of caution, because I think in turn you can end up romanticizing the idea of a person just because of the way that you met. But also I think you can place a certain pressure on yourself when you are going out, because you do sort of think, oh, what if tonight I meet a guy? What if tonight I meet the one? Like, do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm really sorry if that's not very good tips, but I'd love to know if you guys have tips, please leave them in the comments, because I'm not really a good person to give tips on that. So I got a bit of a longer submission, which I really want to share with you guys because I think it's interesting. It's difficult. My boyfriend has always told me that he doesn't watch porn and puts quite a lot of emphasis on the fact that he doesn't. However, yesterday he was showing me an Instagram reel, and as he went to search up on the reel, a load of porn accounts popped up on his recent searches. He's apologized, but I still can't shake the fact he's consistently lied to me about it. And it's also made me feel quite insecure, like I'm not quite good enough. Even more so, I'm already quite an insecure person. Advice. This is such a difficult one. I think that everybody's allowed to have their personal boundaries in a relationship, or whether they're comfortable with their partner watching those videos. I don't want to name it because it's going to get flagged. Watching those videos or not. Everyone's allowed to have their personal boundaries. This is the thing. It's worth noting if that's a boundary you ever set, or whether he took it upon himself to say that he never watches it. It's interesting, because why would he place emphasis on the fact that he doesn't watch it to then be watching it? Why would he lie? I guess it's important to open the communication. I think that something which I think is a personal boundary of mine is when someone engages with porn outside of basically just having a wank. Like when someone engages with that kind of content in their everyday, like it's just on their feed constantly and they're like passively consuming it rather than just something that they do once or twice a week, that's where I draw the line. But everyone has their personal boundaries. But I guess talk to him about it and maybe just ask the question, why did you emphasize that you don't watch it? Is it because you're ashamed? Is it because you think I'm going to be angry? And, set a boundary if you have to. But please let me know what you guys think, because I'm actually stumped on that one too. My friend keeps bringing her partner to everything, and it's so annoying, girl. I hate it when that happens. I follow this girl on TikTok called Anastasia Gracia, and she posted a brilliant TikTok where she basically said she hates when her favorite influencers get boyfriends because all of a sudden starts putting them in the content when they're not even enthusiastic to be there. The worst thing that can happen when your favorite influencer gets a boyfriend and all of a sudden he's in everything and he's not even making an effort. Girl, make an effort. But anyways, I guess if you have a women-only friendship group, the easiest way to do this and to address this is to go, oh, I want to do girls only tonight. I want to do girls only. Just say girls only and it should be fine. I will say that when someone brings their partner to everything, it's really difficult because they're not even necessarily doing it from a place of ill intent. When you want to bring your partner to everything, it's because you're so happy and you want to bring them to things, and you want to share this person that you love with a group of people that you love. It's really sweet. But obviously sometimes you do just want to have alone time, especially when you're in a girl group. You want to have alone time without a guy being there. So I think, again, imply girls only time. and maybe just talk about it and be like, oh, like, would it just be nice to occasionally not bring him? Also, like, nothing's worse than when someone, like, this is the thing, it's actually interesting because I think that most people don't mind their friends bringing their boyfriends to things if he's going to be a good sport about it. But if your boyfriend's going to sulk and like not be funny, if your boyfriend's not like fun to be around, then he's not invited. But if he is fun to be around, then he is invited. Should I have sex with a man I will share an office with for 4 years? Diva loves the attention. See, the issue is with me answering this question is I've never worked in an office in my life. You know, I was a beautician before I did YouTube videos. Now I work alone. So me, I'm going, do it. I'm going, do it, babe. Do it for the plot. So funny. But to be fair, I feel like now as my late 20s swag kicks in, I'm getting to the age where like I think back at my do it for the plot moments and I go, ooh. I think back on all of my do it for the plot moments and I'm like, oh, not all of them, just some of them. Actually, that was a lie. I think you should do it. I think you should do it, but I think that you should consult one of your friends that works in an office because I'm sure this is like giving, you know, one thing that I will never encourage people to do, shagging their housemates. That's disastrous. Never, ever shag your housemates. But I think shag your colleague. Funny. Cheeky. You could end up in a relationship, who knows? How to act when you hate how your best friend's boyfriend makes her feel. This is always a difficult one because I think always my number one tip is to never let your friend know that you dislike their boyfriend. That's always the number one thing. Never, ever let your friend know that you dislike their boyfriend because it's just going to push them further away from you. They're not going to feel like they can like confide in you or speak with you because you hate their boyfriend and they know that. You know, never make it clear that you dislike their boyfriend. Try and like open yourself up and present yourself as someone that your friend can confide in. You know, listen, like, it sounds so stupid, but like be a good listener, be a good friend, be there for them, be supportive. You know, don't necessarily tell them to break up. Basically sort of say things like, you know, I think that you deserve better than this. I don't think that this is okay. Like things like that. If she presents you with that information. The thing is when someone's dating someone that you don't think is good for them and you like actively very much dislike, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And like you can tell your partner, you can tell your friend to break up with their partner, but they will not do it until they are ready. And like that can take a while. And I think the most important thing is to just be really, really patient. And, you know, I know that it's difficult and I know that like it can be really frustrating when your friend is in like a toxic relationship and you like honestly want to shake their fucking shoulders and be like, break up with them. But also, like, sorry, but this is what friendship is about. You've got to be with them through the tough times. And one of those is when they date an absolute fucking wanker. We've got one last for the agony aunt. I had so much fun in this episode. This has been so fun. Agony aunt submission is essentially how to deal with loneliness in a city. A lot of people ask how to deal with loneliness in London specifically. And I don't necessarily have the most tips, but what I will say is do not be hard on yourself if you feel lonely living in a city. I think London specifically, I don't know whether this is particularly unique to the UK or whether this is like, I can imagine this is quite unique in like smaller European countries. I don't know, just smaller countries in general, actually. That in London, it's very common that people will go to school and then they will go to uni and then they will move to either London or Manchester. Those are like the cities where people move to the most. London being the one that people move to, like the most common city for people to move to. So therefore, a lot of people are still friends with the people that they went to uni with. They're still friends with the people they went to school with. That's really, really common, that people's friendship groups, as in friendship groups that they still see regularly, are people that they went to school and uni with. And in turn, that can make friendship making and friend making really hard in this city because people are very rigid in their friendship groups. And honestly, a lot of people don't have time. I think that's the craziest thing, is that a lot of people don't have time. Like I really, really struggle to see friends, to be honest. All of my friendships are either from school, they're through YouTube, which is basically my version of work, or they're friends that I know through my previous relationships, or they are friends because, you know, I didn't go to uni, but that's sort of how I know a majority, or like, yeah, that's how I know a majority of my friends. So it's really, really hard. I think I think the big thing is to not download Bumble BFF. I feel like Bumble BFF, I've only ever heard bad things about it, to be honest. I feel like, honestly, I've made so many friends through TikTok and Instagram, and it doesn't even necessarily mean like following someone and like messaging them straight away, like, do you want to meet up? But like, if there's someone on Instagram who you both live in the same city and you both like reply to each other's stories and stuff, go out for a drink. Go out for a drink, babe. And I guess like the big thing is to say, I know it sounds so stupid, and I know that this isn't the best advice, finding social clubs that relate to your hobbies. So don't necessarily force yourself to go to like a social that you don't want to go to. There are so many social clubs surrounding so many hobbies, sports, you know, pottery making, painting, book clubs. There's like so many social things to do. Also music as well, like people, you know, going to different club nights and stuff, and like making friends of people who listen to the same music as you. Also, if you have like a friend of like, you know, a friend that you've met through work or something invites you to like go to drinks or like whatever, go. Even if you don't make any great friends, it's great to like build a rapport with people. And like so many of people's friends, they meet like through friends of friends. Like some of my best friends are people that I've met and they're like a friend of a friend, like a friend of ours introduced us, friends-in-laws. But yeah, that's sort of my best advice, I will say. Don't be too hard on yourself. I think that's like the best advice I can give. Sorry, it is so dark right now. It's not even daylight saving shit. But I'm going to head because this was such a fun episode to record. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you soon for another one. Bye.